Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is possibly 2 days later, mainly because it is. It's only been 2 days since I recorded the last episode, but that's okay. You have to get a little bit of an early jump on a couple of these episodes here. But yes, last time on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we finished off Stardust Crusaders with Long Journey Farewell, my friends. So yes, Jotaro finished the battle, defeated Dio once and for all by overpowering the world with Star Platinum, and then he was able to revive Joseph due to a blood transfusion between Dio's Joestar blood and Joseph's bloodless body. And they did it. They revived him, and then they burned the rest of Dio's body once and for all. And then the Crusaders, the three of them that were left, parted ways. Polnareff went back to France, and Joseph and Jotaro went back to Japan to see Holly, who had finally recovered from that whole thing with her stand. So yes, that was the end of Stardust Crusaders. We are now moving on into Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. I have no idea what to expect from this part. We didn't get any lead-in last time. No sort of, like, here's the next JoJo, here we go, let's see what happens, or anything. We don't really have... There's one vampire left in the world. Last we checked, there is still the one guy left at Dio's mansion, the loser. He is the last vampire, as far as we know. So yeah, but do I think we're going to get him as a major villain? Probably not. So I'm going to say there's not really going to be many vampire things going on. So yeah, what are we going to do? Are we still going to get Joseph and Jotaro? Because they're still around. Could be, I guess. I mean, it depends on how long after Part 3 this is, so I don't know. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure, but also, because it's the beginning of the... well, we'll say season. Because it's the beginning of this season, what I like to do at the beginning of seasons on these TV shows is I offer full length available for free. So down in the description and in the pinned comment, along with the reaction highlight, is a link over to my Patreon page where you can watch the full unedited reaction to this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for free. Now, there's no show footage. You're going to have to sync up your copy of this episode of JoJo to my footage, but I've made it as easy as possible. You can do that, watch it, hopefully have a good time. And when you're done with that, you can pop right back over here to this video for the discussion. But yeah, that is basically it. Also, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can just go over to the reaction highlight and watch that if you'd prefer. So yeah, that is basically that. So let's go ahead and jump right into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 4, Episode 1 of Diamond is Unbreakable. So here we go. Well, this is a much different show than parts 1 to 3. This is very bizarre. Okay, a lot of information in that one. Start off first and foremost, what we see first and foremost, the art is different. The art is way different. Jotaro, I mean, mainly just with how Jotaro looks. He weirdly looks younger, despite the fact that he's 28, which means, so he's 28, he was 17 in Stardust Crusaders, so it's been 11 years. Well, yeah, and they say it's 1999. It's 1999, and we know that Stardust Crusaders took place in 87. So we're not, no more grandkids, no more the next grandson. This is, I mean, actually, that's the thing. Josuke apparently is Jotaro's uncle, because he's Holly's brother, because he is in fact the son of Joseph Joestar. Okay, so Joseph is getting up there in years. I think Jotaro said he's 78 now. Joseph is getting up there in years. So Jotaro was going through basically the estate and trying to divide it up evenly among Joseph's inheritors, basically. And while he was doing that, Jotaro discovered Joseph's secret love child. Though he said that even Joseph didn't know about it. And I think he said at the age of 62. At the age of 62, he had the affair. And this has now turned the entire Joestar family on its head. Because Suzy Q is livid. And now Jotaro had to go find him. I don't know how to feel about that. About Joseph cheating on Suzy Q. Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing. First of all, their relationship in part 2 was not really the sturdiest relationship. Like, Jonathan and Irina is like the most solid possible relationship ever devised, Because those were two pure beings who were in love with each other. Joseph and Suzy Q was a bit different. Because Joseph was a scoundrel and Suzy Q was a moron. However, what we saw in Stardust Crusaders, things seemed to get better, Joseph was able to mature, and Suzy Q, as we saw, when she was talking about Holly, Suzy Q is not an idiot, She's a bit, she's a bit eccentric and everything, but she's not an idiot, So they start off with not the greatest foundation in part 2. They seem to have done very well over 50 years in part 3, but now their relationship is not good with the reveal of Josuke. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the Joestar family not being, I guess, perfect, With every passing day, we stray further from the light of Jonathan Joestar, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Joseph cheated. And now here's the thing. All he thought was that he just had an affair. Turns out, that affair created a child. And interesting, they say, I caught this. Jotaro says, in 1987, Josuke, at the age of 4, came down with a incredible illness that lasted for 50 days until it was finally resolved. So that means that was his stand. Josuke got a stand at the same time the rest of the Joestars did. And because he was a young boy, and even just judging from how he is now, that means he did not have the mental fortitude to control his stand. It's the same as Holly. That's very interesting. So he couldn't control his stand, but with the death of Dio, Josuke was able to survive, like Holly. That's an interesting point. And now he can control his stand. Because I'm glad you guys explained to me the whole thing that it was the distress signal sent by Jonathan's body that aggravated the Joestar stands. But Joseph and Jotaro, because they were born fighters, they were able to control Hermit Purple and Star Platinum. Whereas Holly and Josuke could not. They couldn't control their stands. whatever Josuke's stand name is. I imagine it's going to be a little bit before we find out because you know, it took a little while before Star Platinum was named. So I imagine, I mean, maybe he's come up with a name. I don't know. At the very least, though, he has been using his stand since the death of Dio. So, boy, oh boy. A lot of things in this episode. Jotaro's wearing white. Jesus. That's just weird. It's so weird because it's definitely a different art style, and it's way more obvious in this than, like, the transition between part 2 and part 3, while apparent, is not striking, you know? Like, you can go from part 2 to part 3 and be like, oh, the art changed, but it doesn't really, like, mess with you. This was messing with me, man. This was messing with me. Because, mainly because of Jotaro. Because Jotaro, first off, yes, Jotaro is wearing a different outfit. He's no longer wearing the black school uniform. He has white pants, a white jacket, a white hat, never mind that. I like the, like, not a turtleneck, but just the sweater he wears as well. Like, he's got a collar shirt and a sweater, and then the jacket. So, that's pretty funny. Okay, Morio. Okay, I think I got that. So yeah. I also like that his hat still blends into his hair, but it's weird because now it's two different colors. It's white that somehow blends into his black hair. Also, his hair is a bit trimmed now. He doesn't have it, like, his hair was more flowing in the back in part 3. So yeah. He's 28. They said he was, like, he studies, it was like marine stuff, like I guess he studies, like, marine animals and stuff. So the turtle pissed him off, definitely. So that was interesting. Which, I mean, you know, it definitely, it reminds me of part 1 where, you know, before everything goes to hell, you know, you hear, oh, well, Jonathan, he, you know, I don't remember if, like, they said he was, like, a doctor or anything, but Jonathan went to college for archaeology. So archaeology, marine stuff, okay, very different, but still, like, it's an interesting sort of study. You can't really connect the two, but it's very interesting, you know? So, yeah. So, let's see. So, we also met Koichi? Koichi? Is that how they said it? I don't know. So, I guess, is he the same age, then, as Josuke? I mean, you look at this kid, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's going to be like Poco or Smokey or Ann. But no, he's apparently, he's like Yugi. I guess he's just on the short side, which is fine. But it's just interesting. But he and Josuke are classmates. And I love that you can immediately tell who has a stand and who doesn't. Like, because Koichi doesn't, obviously, because he can't see what's happening. So I do kind of like that. But yeah. So we meet him. And then through him, he meets Jotaro, and then the two of them meet Josuke, which is interesting. So Josuke, he seems to be just sort of a pushover, you know. Like Koichi said, he's like a wallflower, which I was not expecting, you know, and especially because he is Joestar, you know, and he's Joseph's son specifically too. Now, it's interesting. So the thing that pisses him off, the thing that triggers him, is when someone badmouths his hair. That is so dumb, but I love that. That is amazing. I mean, he definitely, of the Joestars so far, he has the most distinct hair, you know? So that is really funny, that's what triggers him, is his hair. When someone badmouths his hair, then he goes into that rage mode. And honestly, that was a Joestar temper right there. So I did like that. So yeah. So he's also afraid of reptiles. Very interesting fact there. And he did not like touching that turtle. But but before that, he's just sort of a pushover, which is interesting. But I don't know. That's just that's very, very strange. That's the trigger to him being more Joestar. Because I mean, we've seen. Well, Jonathan didn't really have a temper, but he did always, like, if someone was being ungentlemanly, he would go and, do something about it. That's how he met Irina originally. Joseph obviously had his temper that he tried to keep under cool. Jotaro as well has that temper. So it's interesting just that, all right, so fourth JoJo, what do we do for his temper? Well, it's only when someone badmouths his hair. Okay, we'll go with that. Jotaro has not stopped time in 10 years, which is interesting. Now, he's very... I mean, it does make you wonder how much he has used Star Platinum since Stardust Crusaders. Now, at first you would think, well, if things have been peaceful, then probably not much, He probably hasn't used Star Platinum that much, but he did immediately use it. And I like being able to see Star Platinum in this episode. And he definitely looks different too, So there's that. So Star Platinum, he still uses Star Platinum. He caught all the stuff, when Koichi's bag went flying, he caught it with Star Platinum. But he hasn't stopped time in 10 years. Pretty much, I would imagine he hasn't stopped time since he fought Dio. And because of that, he was only able to do it for half a second. So he is way out of practice. But I mean, how much has he had to fight? But on top of that, we have this interesting thing. Angelo, this guy who apparently, serial killer, I guess, rapist, horrible murderer. This guy doesn't seem like he's going to be our big villain of part 4, He doesn't seem like he's going to be our big villain. It seems like he's going to be the first stand user that Josuke fights, which will be interesting. But at the same time, it's just sort of strange because, okay, so clearly they knew something was happening. Joseph uses Hermit Purple to get the photographs of Angelo, which those pictures reveal his stand. So Jotaro comes to Morio not only to find Josuke, but also to find Angelo and beat him, I guess. It does sort of change Jotaro into more of a superhero almost. Like, he's coming in to find a villain, not just... Which, I mean, that's the thing, we don't have... With part 3, it was every stand user we encounter is a servant of Dio in some form or another, There was never a time where we just fought a stand user who was just there, Now, it's also interesting, Jotaro, so many Joe names now that I have to keep track of. Jotaro also says that Angelo must have developed his stand just before he escaped prison. It was something specific like that. Maybe I can go find that real quick. Because they also mention that the execution failed. I thought that might have been his stand, but it didn't look like.
The execution didn't stick. Angelo escaped from custody shortly after, and he most likely became a stand user right before his execution.
Okay. So Jotaro says that he most likely became a stand user just before his execution. Presumably then, his stand allows him to survive the execution, then he escapes. Okay, so interesting. Very interesting very interesting information. My question, though, is how did he develop a stand? Because from what we have learned in part 3, stands should be there at birth and develop with the person. So, like, that's the thing. No one should be, damaged by their own stand because they should grow and develop with the stand user. But that's the whole thing about the Joestar stands, was that they just sort of happened. Although they happened because of the rebirth of Dio and the rebirth of Jonathan Joestar. But it was Jonathan's body specifically that agitated the Joestar stands. So because of that, if that wasn't the case, if the stands just appeared, then that would have been that. So for some reason, a stand manifests within Angelo. That I want to know how. How does a stand just manifest? Because we're at least given, and this is a very strange reason, but we are at least given the reason that the reason why the Joestars develop stands is because of the rebirth of Jonathan Joestar through Dio. It's that combination of Jonathan's ungodly powerful body and, I guess, the vampirism of Dio. You put those two together, they combine, and that basically creates for Dio this new psychic ability, a stand. And for Dio, it creates two stands. Dio's stand, the world, and Jonathan's stand, this, Hermit Purple-esque stand. Then, because Jonathan is reborn, it's passed on through the Joestars, past Joseph, Holly, Josuke, and Jotaro. And it's only Jonathan's distress signal that agitates their stands. Okay, so the question, though, is what happened? Because I'm also trying to think of this logically, which is probably my problem. That is most likely my problem, is I'm trying to think about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure logically, but hear me out. So we hear from Avdol at the beginning of Stardust Crusaders that stands are basically psychic abilities. They're psychic manifestations, basically. So if that is the case, what exactly creates this stand within this random criminal, basically? That would be my question. We don't have an answer right now, but maybe we'll get some later. Back to Josuke a little bit. We have his stand. We don't know the name of it quite yet, but very interesting power. So first off, the boy is strong. His stand, like Star Platinum, punches, So we already have that. It's a punching type of stand. Same type of stand as Star Platinum. But different where, so I guess this is now the third type of stand, the third stand in this particular type, between Star Platinum, the world, and now Josuke's stand, which is interesting. So it's sort of the same type of stand, but his stand differs from Star Platinum and the world, where they can stop time. He has a very unique power. He can on a molecular level, let's say that, he can restructure parts of the body, or just anything. Restructure molecules, which is how he was able to heal. He was able to heal the turtle. He was able to completely mess up the one guy's face. He messed up Jotaro's hat. And then he punched through the woman and the crook, the criminal, and then as the hand came out, put the knife within the criminal's body and completely fixed the woman so that she didn't have the injury. That is a really cool idea for a stand. Like, that is so awesome, and after Stardust Crusaders, where we had a lot of creative stands, yeah, but our main stands, like, again, my favorite stands in Stardust Crusaders were Hierophant Green and Hermit Purple, because I feel like they were kind of the most creative, Like, Jotaro, alright, yeah, he's good, he's punching, yeah, you get the star finger, but whatever. But then you get him stopping time, and that's okay. That's an interesting ability, a specific ability. Then you get like Magician's Red, kind of cool, but he's really just a fire guy, when you really boil it down. Some interesting stuff. Crossfire Hurricane, the life detector that didn't work in Finding Vanilla Ice, that stuff's cool. Silver Chariot, he has a sword. And the Fool was kind of one of the most interesting among the Crusaders because it was, it could morph its sand into different things and stuff. So the Fool, Hermit Purple, and Hierophant Green, all really great. So I'm glad that immediately we're getting really weird stands. Like, immediately, all right, Josuke, what's his stand? Well, it's a lot like Star Platinum. It can punch. It's really, really strong. I think he said Dora instead of just Aura, which is interesting. Bit of a different battle cry there. I don't know. I don't have subs anymore, so I'm not really sure. But, so that was pretty cool. That was really cool, but he also has this molecular restructuring ability, which is interesting. And then we have Angelo's stand, which seems to possess people. I guess it's sort of like Hierophant Green in that respect, where, Hierophant Green, when we first see it, is possessing that nurse, and then Star Platinum drags it out. So it is sort of like that, although maybe a bit more subtle because it's a smaller stand. So right off the bat, those two stands, very good, very creative. I really like that. So yeah. And then we have the store fight, which again, this store fight only happens because the guy insults Josuke's hair. Brilliant, love that. I think Josuke, I feel like, is going to be a very weird hero, Whereas, Jonathan was a hero because, he's the hero. Joseph was the hero because, he knew he needed to face the Pillarmen and Straizo, but he also did it for, his family. He defeated Straizo for Granny Arena, and Speedwagon, and then he went on and defeated the Pillarmen because it's what he needed to do, basically. And Jotaro was more for his mother and his friends, and especially once you get towards Dio, it is, I'm fighting for my mother and my friends that have fallen in this journey, So that was more, yes, Jotaro was trying to save the Earth, save the planet, save the day, but he was also trying to save his friends and family. He was fighting for them. Josuke, so far, has been fighting for his hair. Now, this is episode 1. We'll see how he develops, but it's just a very interesting start to our main character. Our new main character, what triggers him to fight? Someone insults his hair. Okay, let's see where we go with that. I'm on board. But yeah. So again, a good fight. Again, another good showcase of Josuke's stand as well, because it really shows how creative you can get with this whole molecular restructuring thing. So I like that. And then something crazy is going on in Morio. Something weird, and I don't know. Are we actually going to go on an adventure? I don't know. I mean, at the very least, right here, the enemy right now, Angelo, is just in this, town. So maybe we'll just sort of chill out here. I don't know, but I like this, and I also like, because while yes, Stardust Crusaders did have 2 JoJo's that had Jotaro and Joseph, I feel like we'll get a bit more of a sort of JoJo team up between Jotaro and Josuke because they are both very young, The problem with Joseph is he was way out of his prime. Still good, still clever, still Joseph Joestar, but he was definitely out of his prime, barely keeping up with his Hamon training, and had a stand that didn't compete that often, So yeah. So I'll be very curious to see the dynamic between Jotaro and Josuke. So, the doors are shaking. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, very interesting first episode. I'm glad this is very different. Parts 1 to 3, while all good and all unique, technically they're all kind of the same, basic thing of JoJo has to fight vampire person, Jonathan has to face Dio, Joseph has to face the Pillarmen, Jotaro has to face, Dio again. Whereas this one, it's okay. Josuke has to fight Angelo, I guess. And he has to deal with this whole Joestar family drama. I don't want drama in the Joestar family. They're the Joestars, founded by Jonathan. I mean, it's not founded by Jonathan Joestar, but you get what I mean. But it's like, like with every JoJo, we stray further from Jonathan, you know? So, yeah. But that's basically that. Very curious to see where we are going in the next episode. So with that all said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions. There's another video you can click on if you want more videos from me. There's a subscribe button, there's a Patreon button, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys next time.